Here are some highlights of this program.
Hello everybody.
Welcome to Brainstorm exclusive interview.
Our education should be corrected, adapted, and updated.
Live better, they can send their children to school because they can interact with their authorities.
Techniques, electricity, computer science, innovation,
And we know that this brainstorm.
You yourself, after watching this interesting program, notice the final statement made by our notable guest, a brand new one. Welcome to Brainstorm. Today's topic is immigration, dream and realities. Why do we need to talk about this subject? What are some main reasons for immigration around the world? And what kind of problems immigration can solve in a country? We are pleased on this platform to discuss this very important topic. And I'm helped with my friend on the platform. His name is Joshua Dumbelai. Hello, Joshua.
Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing great. Everything is okay, right?
Everything's fine.
Joshua comes here on this platform just for the second time. So it's an important guest we're going to spend the time together with and try to break down this very important subject. So let's get started. We talk about immigration, dream and realities. So what is your understanding about this concept, immigration or emigration?
All right. First of all, I would like to thank you for having me on your show for the second time. Thank you for the invite. I think it's a very complex concept, immigration, and it's a very old concept, actually. For those who are familiar with the biblical narrative, we remember that in the Bible, the Almighty God asks one of his people, Abraham, to live from point A to point B. So it was sort of like immigration. So he had to move. That's immigration with an E. So he had to move from A to B within the same country. Now we're talking about immigration, meaning that it goes beyond the national borders. Whenever anybody chooses to leave his country for a different nation, and then that's immigration, the movement. And according to the definition given by Google, is the action of coming to live permanently in a foreign land or country.
The idea is understand the definition provided by Joshua. He tries to brainstorm the concept immigration or immigration. In addition to that, we'd like you to watch this video that provides further information on this concept. Please watch.
The words immigration and emigration both refer to leaving one country or region to live in another. It's pretty straightforward, right? It's also pretty easy to get turned around on these words too. Immigration and emigration share the same Latin root, migrare, which means to move, transport. It gives us migration, or changing one's place of residence. So back to the whole differences thing. The real difference between these two words is how they're spelled. The E in emigration ultimately comes from a Latin prefix meaning out of. Emigration is migrating out of a country or place. It's leaving it, often due to a lack of opportunity or various hardships. The im in immigration ultimately comes from another Latin prefix, in, meaning, well, in or into. So, immigration is migrating into a new place, typically on a permanent basis. Whether someone is an emigrant or an immigrant depends on their direction, on whether they're coming or going. If you're Portuguese and you're worried that a lot of people are moving to New Jersey, you might say, emigration is a real challenge for our nation. Now, if you're an American and you're living in New Jersey, you might say, Portuguese immigration is really good for our state. It's all about your frame of reference.
All right. So why is there a growing need to talk about this phenomenon nowadays?
Okay, we definitely should discuss it. It need to be discussed, and I would like for us not to just focus on one country like DRC. I think from a perspective, immigration is a worldwide phenomenon. So people move from their country to a different country for a variety of reasons, and I think we should address this. It's important to address it.
A worldwide issue, a worldwide problem,
Yes.
even though most of the time we try to focus on the DRC. So when it comes to immigration, why is the DRC so much concerned?
Well, I think we should be more worried about immigration because of our socio-economic status. Unfortunately, most Congolese citizens choose to leave DRC, the homeland, to go elsewhere in hopes to improve the condition of living and the standard of living. That's the main reason. So basically, people leave DRC for socio-economic reasons. That's the main reason. However, we still have people who leave DRC for some other reasons. Could be academic reasons, but most of the time it's for socio-economic reasons.
Okay, for economic reasons, social, and many other reasons, people make that move
Yes.
for a better life. But now, what social problems can immigration solve in a country?
Well, I think depending on what we talking about. So we talking about a host country, for instance. If a host country receives you and then they allow you to stay and work there, obviously it's economically beneficial for them because you're allowed to work and then you pay taxes to the local state of their country, and then you helping the economy to thrive. Most of the time we overlook that. We don't really realize that it's beneficial for the host country to give you documents because they want to get taxes from you whenever you work. So it's beneficial for them to give you documents.
Okay, that's a beneficial one because people make move and then they travel abroad, they stay there. When they find a job, just
Absolutely.
a benefit for their
And
host,
it's called
host
labor.
country.
That's a labor.
That's a labor. Okay, but you say you talk about that simply because you know much, and you yourself experienced that when you've been abroad. That the host
Absolutely.
country benefits
I
a lot.
myself lived in the United States of America. I lived in different states. I initially started in the state of Kansas, and then moved to Missouri, and I currently live in Cincinnati, Ohio. So the last time I've been there was in 2017. So I came back in 2018. So, I initially lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the state.
That's really great experience you got from having been abroad.
Absolutely.
There are many benefits of immigration or emigration, but this video tried to focus on the importance, how important is immigration. Please watch and we'll be back.
We hear about immigration endlessly, people debating why it's good, why it's bad. But what's really the case? Are immigrants criminals, stealing jobs and sponging welfare benefits? Well, let's just look at the research. First, immigrants don't commit more crime than natives. Take Germany. Even with its mass influx of migrants in 2015, its own Federal Office of Criminal Investigation said migrants had not increased the crime rate. And police noted that the typical native German was actually more likely to engage in crime. And it's the same in the country with the largest number of immigrants in the world, the U.S. The American Immigration Council says innumerable studies have confirmed immigrants are less likely to commit serious crimes or be behind bars than the native-born. Second, when it comes to jobs and wages for natives, the vast majority of research shows that immigrants actually have a positive effect. And take this one significant study that saw immigrants in the U.S. can lower the wages for high school dropouts and college graduates. Well, after averaging all wage changes, it actually saw a tiny overall wage increase. And the author of that report even wrote in 2016, the influx of immigrants can potentially increase the total wealth of the population. And do natives even want the jobs that many immigrants have? One U.S. experiment took 6,500 farm jobs that Mexican migrants usually did and offered them exclusively to unemployed Americans. But only 268 people applied. More than half quit a month month later, and less than 3% of Americans actually finished the job, while 90% of Mexicans did. And finally, the argument that immigrants unfairly take benefits, well, the OECD found that in most countries, except in those with a large share of older migrants, they contribute more in taxes and social contributions than they receive in individual benefits. And immigrants are also more than twice as likely as natives to start a business, bringing substantial benefits to advanced economies. Think about it. Google, AT&T, Yahoo, SpaceX, WhatsApp, etc., were all founded by immigrants. Now, if you want to debate integration and cultural differences, fine. But if we're talking about crime and economy, well, the research has spoken. And overall, immigration is a good thing.
All right. Since the majority of Congolese are much interested in immigration, what are some advantages and drawbacks?
All right, thank you. That's an interesting question. I think the benefits are numerous, okay? Depending on your status, obviously. Let's take, I would take an instance, for instance. Those who go to the United States through the DV lottery, the diversity lottery. So it's beneficial for them because they are granted permanent residency by the U.S. government, and once they get there, they get a job. They get a job, and then the job will allow them to stay there, to work and earn a living, and then to improve the condition of the life of standard. Okay, let me put it that way. Unfortunately, however, most of those people don't want to update themselves when it comes to academics. I mean, they don't want to go to school, and they don't get any education. As a result, the drawbacks you're talking about, the disadvantages, when you don't get education in U.S., it will perpetrate a cycle of you being an employee. So you keep doing the same job you've been doing for many years. So if you don't have any skills or any qualifications, unfortunately, both of them end up falling in that category.
And what about those who got a scholarship? Can they have the similar conditions with those who did not have a scholarship, just to remain permanently employees?
Well, those who have a scholarships go with a different status, which usually is a student status. It's a F1 status. And when you are on F1 status, usually you don't automatically become a permanent resident. So you have to go to change your status in order to become a permanent resident. So those who go on scholarships are usually students. And there are a lot of restrictions when you are on F1 status. So you don't automatically become a permanent resident. There are ways.
You get some knowledge on immigration. By listening to you, I can feel that you got some insight on that. But when we talk about immigration, you think that these phenomenon can contribute to social development?
Absolutely. I do believe that's what makes the United States of America one of the greatest countries. So the diversity, and most of immigrants who go to U.S., they are both able to get a decent work, and they're being regularly paid. So I think it's beneficial for the U.S. government to have more immigrants because they want the economy to keep growing. So the more immigrants they have, the better chance of improving the economic setting, the better chance of growing the economy. So it's beneficial for instance, the U.S. government. The more immigrants they got, they give them documents to work. Let's take the example of refugees beside the DV lottery winners. Refugees, asylee, they do the same thing. They grant you documents, you work, you pay taxes to the U.S. government, and the American economy grows. That's how it goes. Right. Provided it's legal immigration. So that we go.
Well, Joshua is upfront when he explains this phenomenon, the benefits, advantages of our immigration. But this video as well explains how the thousands of immigrants move from one country to another for a better life. Please watch.
At the end of a dead-end road in upstate New York, there is a remarkable scene playing out. Thousands of people are fleeing the United States. Fearful the Trump administration is going to send them back to their countries of origin, thousands of immigrants are crossing into Canada in hopes of asylum.
Are you from Haiti? Yes. Are the kids American citizens? Or?
Erlune Jean has been living without legal status in New Jersey for the last 17 years. She says since the elections she's been living with a terrible anxiety.
There were tears for me because since I was crying, she was crying too. Because it's a life changing for me. This is all I know. US, from my young age to now. That's all I know. So I don't know what's waiting for me over there.
Making the situation even harder, Jean's husband is staying in the U.S. for now.
But it's just, I kind of wanted to stay there because I lived there for like my whole life.
Yeah,
so then
I was born in the same house. I never moved, and now
here we are.
Through word of mouth and social media, thousands of immigrants have heard of the Roxham Road crossing. If they cross into Canada at a legal border crossing, they will be returned to the U.S., but if they cross illegally and are arrested, they can claim asylum.
So you're going to be arrested, right?
24 hours a day, taxi after taxi arrives full of people. 10-year-old Lena Junga and her mother are originally from the war-torn Democratic Republic of Congo. They hope to find a better life in America, but now feel Canada is their best hope.
In Trump's country, he wants to put us back to our country, so we don't want that to happen to us. So we actually want a good life for us, and my mother want a good life for me.
People from all over the world are coming to Roxham Road, but in recent weeks it's mostly been immigrants from Haiti. Many Haitians were granted temporary protective status after earthquakes in 2010 devastated the country, killing over 100,000 people. The Trump administration has signaled it will end the status, leaving nearly 60,000 Haitians in fear of being deported. The U.S. Border Patrol says most of the people crossing either have temporary legal status or are in the U.S. on a tourist visa, so they can't legally stop them, leaving the Canadians to shoulder the load.
If they encounter something suspicious in Canada that they think may be a smuggling attempt into the U.S., we rely on them to let us know. But if they're all here at the Roxham Road, they can't do that anymore. It hurts us.
On the other side of the border, Canadian Member of Parliament Brenda Shanahan says she is proud of how her country is handling the situation, but worries the people crossing aren't getting the full story.
It's not a free ticket for refugee status, not at all. And we would actually like to make that very clear, that regardless of what people are reading on social media and so on, crossing the border here does not guarantee an automatic entry.
After crossing into Canada, immigrants are taken to the Olympic Stadium in Montreal until they can find a place to stay or until a decision is reached on their asylum request. It's unclear how long Canada will keep the crossing open, but unless something changes, it's hard to see an end to the flood of people looking for hope at the end of Roxham Road. David Martin, The Associated Press.
All right, let's go to another question. I want to ask about situations of Congolese people. A lot of Congolese youth view immigration as a way of success in life. Do you share this statement?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think one of the challenges we have in the country is the socio-economic conditions. I mean, if you take a look at the statistically, the unemployment rate is higher than expected. So the economy is not doing well. So that's the main reason why you have the movement, the mass movement of people relocating, leaving the country because they don't find themselves in the economy. When the socio-economic conditions are not favorable to the people's well-being, that's what you get. You have people leaving the country.
From your own experience, can you honestly say that most of Congolese people who go out of the country or leave the countries for another land always make it?
Well, unfortunately, I would like to focus on the U.S. because I've been to the U.S. I've never been to any other country but U.S. I think for the case of the United States, it's one of the countries that gives opportunity to people. We have U.S. and Canada. I've never been to Canada. It's a neighboring country. My aunt who lives in Atlanta, Georgia, advised me to move to Canada. I didn't want because of the weather, but the majority of people who go immigrant who leave the country to to a different country, most of the time they make it because the condition, it's all about the economy.
Yeah, people are sometimes entertain.
It's all about the economy and opportunities.
All right. It's during my dream when it comes to foreign lands and so on. But as one of the Congolese diaspora,
yes,
what is life like out of homeland?
Well, it's not easy to be. I went to the U.S. as a college student. Obviously, when you go with my status, because I used to be F1, I was on F1 status.
What does it mean, F1 status?
F1 status is a student status, international student. You go as an international student. And the type of visa is no immigrant. So you go there for education. After you're done, you're supposed to come back to your homeland. But usually people transition. You can transition from that status into permanent residence. It's easier within the state. However, my experience is thoroughly different from people with the DV lottery, because when you go on DV lottery, they grant you permanent residence card. However, when you go as a student, as an F1 student without a scholarship, because I went without a scholarship, you're supposed to invest money in the U.S. government. So you like basically a U.S. government partner, because you go to college, they provide you knowledge, and you have to pay for that. So that's one of the challenges.
And it seems that those who go to the United States through a DV lottery, they can have access. They are not granted the higher education to go to study to the college. Is that true?
I don't think it's true. The problem is when you get a permanent residency card, it's all about the information. Those people, they qualify for everything, because when you're permanent resident, you can benefit of a lot of stuff within the U.S. government. However, one of the challenges they have is the IQ. So intellectually, they are not active, because the first challenge is the language barrier. They can speak the English language. I'll be funny with you when I tell you that I lived in Atlanta, Georgia. You will meet people who have been in states for 25 years, but who can't speek any English. Wow. That might sound funny, but that's what happened. That's a reality. Sorry. You go to the state of Kentucky. Kentucky is 1 hour 45 minutes from my state. I live in Ohio, so I usually drive back and forth from Kentucky, and I also worked in Kentucky. So, I have a lot of friends. Same challenge, language barrier.
So language barrier. What is the real reason of that? The barrier language.
Language barrier is that when you DV lottery, you play and they select you randomly. So they select people
randomly. They're not prepared.
Yes, they don't. Regardless of your background, your academic background, regardless your IQ, they just select you randomly. And most of the time, you end up there. And the challenge they have is that some of them have an opportunity to study English as a second language. But unfortunately, whenever they enroll in the classes, the reality that the instructor is an American teaching English in American English in English.
Wow.
So most of the time they drop out.
Thanks.
It's funny, but that's the reality.
All right, these are realities. Because we talk about immigration, dream, and realities, we'd like you to watch this video featuring Congolese living in South Africa, and we'll be back.
Maurice and Oliver are on the trail of their next big story. They are reporters for Congo Square, a monthly newspaper distributed in Cape Town. It covers news and features that matter to the Congolese migrant community living here. Over the years, there have been several attacks targeted at immigrants in South Africa. They are accused by the poor of taking jobs and fueling the high rate of violent crime. Maurice, Eric and Oliver decided to start Congo Square to address these issues. With no journalism experience, the three men went out into the Congolese community and started to interview people about their experiences, concerns and successes in their adopted home.
We wanted to begin to bring all the circumstances together and also share it with the world and share it with the people in South Africa, where our people are coming from and why are they here.
The three founders are the only staff of Congo Square. They hire a printer and produce up to 3,000 copies of the 20-page publication every month, depending on how much money they have. The paper is free. Its founders invest in their own money earned from working odd jobs. They also distribute the paper themselves and promote it among South Africans.
Our philosophy is we know that our community is plenty of negativity. So we want to promote the positivity, and to promote that positivity is to go out there to find the positive side of in our community and to put it somewhere.
The conflict in DRC may have officially ended in 2003, but some parts of the country still experience violence. Many of those who flee are traumatized by the long journey into exile and struggle to survive.
We've been suffering a lot, especially to our country. There's a war, there's a lot of corruption, there's a this and this and this. I can't say about all those things, but it's going to be a good initiation to be together and then to sort out about everything.
Beaucoup plus d'informations. Souvent, moi, je travaille ici.
By getting this newspaper, I'm getting info about my country, the embassy and home affairs. That's why this paper is very important to me.
Sur mon pays, et puis sur l'ambassade, et puis sur l'homme affairs.
The young men hope to get advertising revenue in their newspaper. They handle articles that cannot be published in a relatively media-restricted DR Congo. Carol Oyola, CCTV.
All right. Now, so what are some of the positive things that the Congolese community living abroad can do to help DRC get developed?
All right. I will focus on the type of diaspora. For instance, I'm one of the Cali alumni. So when I went to state, we have a big network of Cali students. One of whom is a student from California. He went to school in California. He has a non-profit organization. He's been struggling to get things done here. So one of the issues is when you have, we think differently from other diaspora because we went to college and we understand the system better than anyone. So I think my suggestion would be to create a lobbying. And talking of lobbying, it means that we need to get partners, Congolese partners living in US who are healthy, who are wealthy enough that could be willing to finance projects, for instance. But we need to create a lobbying, a network lobbying. Let me give an example. The difference between the DV lottery winner, a Saudi student, is that a DV lottery winner, the government provide him with a document, they easily get everything. A Saudi student who graduate, or a Congolese student who graduate from any university, and would like to start a business, it will have a hard time to get the immigration approval in order to get a green card than a lottery winner. So those are some of the challenges we have. Is restrictions on our status, and also the fact that some of our older brothers are unwilling to invest in the youth.
All right. In a similar context, I'd like you just to tell the difference between legal and illegal immigration.
Absolutely. I think illegal is anything legal has to do with the law. Anything legal is directly. I did one of my classes. One of the classes taken at the university level was business law. So anything legal is connected, okay? It's connected to the law, okay? It's lawful. However, in the contrast, anything illegal is unlawful, meaning that it kind of like disobey the law. So, for instance, you have a U.S.-Mexico challenge. So most of the Mexicans would like to come to U.S., would like to go to U.S. illegally without any passport.
Any document.
So I think that will be the difference. So,
ladies and gentlemen, you will certainly enjoy this video that also tells the difference between legal and illegal immigration, but especially in the United States, this interview will tell you more about this difference. Please watch.
So what's the difference between somebody who is undocumented in the U.S. and somebody who is here illegally? Is there a difference? Watch this video and I'll tell you more. In this video, we'll talk about the difference between somebody who is undocumented in the US and somebody who is here illegally. Oftentimes, people confuse the two and put everybody in the same group. First of all, when somebody is in the United States undocumented, that means that that person entered the US illegally in the first place. Somebody that either jumped the fence or were smuggled in here or somehow found a way to enter the US without the proper documentation. And as a result, he's currently living and residing in the US without documents. We call these people undocumented. As opposed to somebody who came here on a visa. So you could be here on a tourist visa or a student visa or on a work visa, and then somehow you lost your status. You lost your status because you lost your job, so you couldn't renew your H-1B visa. You lost your status because your tourist visa expired and you didn't renew it. You lost your status because you fell out of school. Those people were legal at some point, and then they overstayed their visa because they never renewed it. At the end of the day, the undocumented person and the person who is here illegally, at the end of the day, they're both here without authorization because they don't have the proper visa. If somebody here is undocumented and then they meet a U.S. citizen, they want to marry them, they can't just fix their paperwork so easily. They will have to eventually leave the U.S., apply for some sort of a waiver, and then come back even after a marriage. But if somebody is here illegally, they, let's say, overstay their visa, and then they marry a U.S. citizen, they could easily fix their paperwork in the U.S. without leaving, and then all their overstay period will be waived. And I often do this analysis whenever I see a client who is without status. We're trying to determine how we can help them. That is the first thing that I do. I try to analyze whether they are here undocumented or they came here with a visa and they just overstayed. And of course, based on that analysis, we'll determine what we can do for them. Hope this video helps. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and share this video with somebody that cares. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.
Okay, we're moving slowly to the end of our show, but I'd like you to tell me, what about refugees? For instance, those who are fleeing from Ukraine to Poland and other lands, can they be viewed as immigrants?
Absolutely. Most of them are viewed, and that's a humanitarian issue. So I think in the laws, in international laws, whenever you have a group of people who are being victimized by some situation, like right now we have what is going on in Ukraine, okay? Russia versus Ukraine. So we have a move of people, massive move of people from relocating, from fleeing the war from Ukraine. So it's possible to grant them a temporary protected status.
All right.
They are immigrants, absolutely.
Thank you. For Congolese planning to become immigrant, what are some requirements to meet for success?
Well, I think it depends on your vision and your status. So if you still want to play the lottery and go to the state, I would say that that's kind of modern day slavery, because those people, they find themselves in a situation where the employees and they do the blue collar work and they work hard. However, if you choose to go to US in order to get knowledge as a college student, I would highly recommend everybody to consider going to US for education rather than for any other thing. Thank you.
As far as immigration is concerned, nowadays, which country is the best for immigration?
I would say which countries are the best. And from my own experience, I would highly advise the United States of America, even though we have the racism and discrimination going on, and then the Canada. Canada is always the first choice for people, Canada, because Canadian immigration is easier than any other, is more friendly, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, the question I got here, I wanted just to ask you, as far as Congolese immigration is concerned, what are some dreams and realities?
Our local immigration.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I wish I knew more about that. I wish I knew more. We have Dejem closer here. The reality is that most of people who come here they come here for business, which is beneficial for our economy. So we hardly recommend. I'm in favor of immigration to Congo, because most people who come here come for a business. Purpose.
When it comes to immigration, what can we look forward to in the future?
When it comes to immigration, depending on I don't want to repeat myself.
Yourself,
but
just
I
to summarize.
Yes, so I would just recommend people, whenever you would like to leave Congo, you should know the reason why you leave. Okay. Still, we have the easier way, which is the lottery. If you're a lottery winner, but I will give advice to those people. If you win a lottery and you find yourself in the U.S., please make sure you get some education, because if you don't, unfortunately, you're going to have to keep being in a modern slave system.
Thank you so much, Joshua.
You're welcome,
we
sir.
covered much of the things we needed to talk.
Absolutely.
We are at the end of our talk show. It was very interesting as usual. You know, this guest today performed well. He tried to break down every detail about this concept, immigration, dream, and realities. So we are very pleased to have you many who watch this program. So we'd like you to keep watching and stay tuned on the Second National Channel. Thank you so much. See you next time. Here are some highlights of this program.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to Brainstorm exclusive interview.
Our education should be corrected, adapted, and updated.
Live better, they can send their children to school because they can interact with their authorities.
Techniques, electricity, computer science, innovation,
And we know that this brainstorm.
Yourself, after watching this interesting program, notice the final statement made by our notable guest, a brand new one.